but maybe we should get a little more insight on this. So let's go ahead and Skol with the enemy.
Skol with the enemy. What's up, Joe?
Hey,
man, 30.
Sam Darnold can play a good game in MetLife. Who would have thought?
Right. I know Jets fans didn't think so. So what we got here, we got Joe. He's a 49ers fan, and this is something that we want to do every week is bring on a fan of the other team or maybe even two fans of the other team and just kind of have a little conversation and kind of see where the mindset of the other side is instead of just speculating on that. So, Joe, first give us your background on being a 49er fan.
It goes back to early 90s. I just remember turning the TV on one day when football was being played. I'm pretty sure it was a Niners-Cowboys game. I started cheering for the Niners. My little brother started cheering for the Cowboys. And it kind of just stuck from there. I know Montana was hurt that year. Steve Young was in. It was Steve Young, Jerry Rice, and it was kind of just something I stuck with forever.
Was that might have been 92 because Steve Young was the one who beat us the last time we played in Minnesota.
Yeah, early 90s.
Yeah, so that probably was that 92 game.
At least you're not a Cowboys fan. I like that.
How nice is it to have good quarterbacks?
I mean, we went through a little bit of stretch where it was middle of the road, and we really didn't know what we had with Alex Smith and, the part-timers we had in between there. Trent Dilfer got us a little ways, Jeff Garcia, but nobody really has had us there other than the Super Bowl appearances since Steve Young.
So speaking of your quarterbacks, how do you feel about Brock Purdy? Is he the guy? Or the 49ers going to commit to him? What do you think?
I think they're going to commit to him, and I do think he's the guy. He's definitely been the guy on the roster for the last 3 years. I think any 49ers fan would tell you that they knew in 2022 that our best quarterback on the roster was our third stringer. And I don't think that, anybody really batted an eye when Trey Lance went down and then Jimmy G went down because we knew, okay, we're going to get a shot with this Purdy kid that everybody, is just looking at as Mr. Irrelevant. He goes on a run, takes us all the way to the NFC Championship where he gets injured in the first quarter, and that's the first game that he loses. So I think that he is the guy. I think they're going to commit to him also because, if you watch any sports channels right now, you're going to hear everybody say that the Niners window is closing because, they're going to have to pay him. So, last year, this year, I think it's got to happen soon. Otherwise, we're going to start losing a lot more of our key pieces.
Well, that's fair. I do think that.
When does Brock Purdy become your backup quarterback? Because Minnesota just loves them.
Well, that was actually going to be one of my questions for you guys. Now that we're on that topic, is okay, Kirk Cousins is gone. You guys know this is pre-draft that Sam Darnold's your quarterback. What are your feelings on that? Knowing the system that he just came from in the organization he just came from, would be in our backup.
I'll take it first, then whoever wants to jump in. I honestly thought that Sam Darnold's coming in and he's just a benchmark for whoever we draft. Can whoever we draft beat out this guy? But once we started seeing Sam Darnold in training camp, I was like, okay, this guy actually looks pretty good. He throws a nice ball. Maybe spending some time with Shanahan helped him out a little bit, form his mechanics, and now he's working with KOC. I kind of saw something there. But the whole time I still did think, okay, this is just a guy here that J.J. McCarthy has to beat out. But once J.J. McCarthy went down, I have confidence in him that he can get us to the playoffs. I don't know if we can make a deep run, but I got some confidence in him, and I do think it probably helped him spending some time there last year.
Yeah.
I actually thought that your other former San Francisco 49ers quarterback was going to beat him out for the starting position.
That's what I really want to hear about.
That's Nick Mullins. That's Nick Mullins, Joe.
Nick Mullins, baby. I did not think Sam Darnold would be our starting quarterback week one. I still don't think he should be. I think Nick Mullins is a better quarterback.
You don't think it's a product of Sam Darnold playing for the Jets and the Panthers, not just the fact that it's Sam Darnold?
He played for the 49ers too, and you know what? Here's the thing, Joe. I know it's a very small sample size, but when he started for the 49ers in that one game, he had a 60% completion percentage, which is his career, 60%. So he changed. He went to that 49ers team and still had a 60% completion percentage.
Fish sounds like the typical battered Vikings fan that you get from the Jets, the Raiders, the Browns. There's a lot of animosity there, Fish.
I just want you to know I'm an exceptional battered Vikings fan. I just keep it stifled for the sake of the show.
You're definitely exceptional, Fish. Shaq, speak on it.
So, I've been telling these guys about Sam Darnold. I've been watching him because I'm a USC fan, and I noticed like every time a quarterback goes to the Jets, they don't pan out. We talk about Mark Sanchez, who only won because of his defense. We could talk about Geno Smith, who didn't win with the Jets, and we could talk about Sam Darnold. Before and after Sam Darnold on the Jets wasn't winning shit, and then Sam Darnold went to the Panthers after Cam Newton kind of became a bad quarterback, and the Panthers is a bad organization. You can look at them now; they ain't winning shit now. So it's kind of like Sam Darnold has that hype of he's a top 5 quarterback, well, top 5 pick quarterback, but he never had somebody to actually coach him on what he needs to do better until he finally got to the 49ers, and he had Kyle Shanahan, who he didn't have to start. There was no pressure for him to be a top 5 pick with the 49ers. He actually got to sit back, watch Brock Purdy lead the offense and learn, because, a lot of offenses and a lot of coaches try to throw a quarterback in there and be like, go lead this team. And it's hard to do when, you never got that coaching to, really give you a chance to learn the offense without you, making mistakes. Because if you make one mistake, they ready to throw your ass out the league.
Got something, Cody?
Yeah, so the Sam Darnold thing is funny. Like, I predicted it in the end of February that we were going to get Sam Darnold. And I predicted it because I was like, that's such a Vikings move. Let's get a guy because he stepped in. Now he's the starter because someone got hurt. Now he turns the backup. That's the Vikings quarterback right there. And my worst case scenario was not us drafting a quarterback in the first round. So what Keith said about he was the benchmark. That's what I was praying to God for, that he was just going to be the benchmark. I got Sam Darnold in the background. We call him Saint Sam now. But
for how long? It might be a week. It might only last a week.
Yeah, I'm still not a big firm believer of Sam Darnold because I don't think if the game is on the line, he's not going to win it for you, in my opinion. But if the game is scripted correctly, he will win the game for you, and that's my biggest takeaway.
Game manager.
That's where the game planning comes in. You don't need him to be a top 5, top 10 quarterback. You need him to not turn the ball over.
So Joe,
I beg to differ, sir. We're gonna have to run this coming weekend with you guys.
That's my question to Joe. Joe, I mean, so the middle of your D line, I mean, they're new guys, right? I mean, at the end of the day, how do you feel about those guys? I mean, look, I know your ends are great, and I know Fred Warner's a monster. A monster, and I'm more scared about him than anybody else. But
almost as good as Pace.
Are you convinced that D line is going to be able to stop the run pretty solidly? Or I mean, where are you at with that?
I honestly think they can. Breece Hall is, even in his young career, I still think is a potential, if he's not already a top 5 running back. And we all know the Jets' offensive line woes in the last 5 years, like the Giants. I think I was texting you during the game, up until one point where the first sack was given up, that the new look offensive line for the Jets held up. I still think the penetration that the defense is getting from the Niners, whether it be middle edge linebacker, they controlled all facets of that game. 38-minute time of possession. Granted, that's offense, but a lot of it was controlled with the defensive line as well.
My question is actually, let me piggyback that, because I think that there was some game situations on that though too. I mean, once they got up, they were up, and so I don't know if they've been tested well up that middle, and that's why I'm asking that question.
That's fair. You did see that, that last drive where Rodgers sat out. They kind of did whatever they wanted, but at that point, you're in cruise control. Not something that Vikings fans know much about. For 5 years.
I like him.
But I mean, I don't think we ever felt tested. I think the third drive of the game that the Jets had was their touchdown drive. nobody better than Rodgers on a free play either. So, that's your one touchdown that you give up. Other than that, then the Niners controlled it, whether it was, the secondary, the line, or the linebackers. I haven't seen enough from the Vikings yet. Obviously, it's only been one game. And no matter what the score was, you guys won by 17, more than 17. You still lost the time of possession battle. So that's not something that's really concerning me right now.
You can come on every week. Go ahead.
Yep.
That doesn't bug me that we lost time of possession because we were scoring the ball and kicking it back to them. So we weren't doing long drive.
In the first quarter, you're just throwing the ball away to the other team just to give them a head start. Then
we didn't throw the ball away.
It was sympathy.
It was a fumble.
We had a fumble that we recovered from, like a good team would. We held them to a field goal when we fumbled on our side of the field.
And we were like, we understand. We have been where you are now just recently. And we want you to understand that we feel you. So we're going to take it easy. It's not going to feel as painful as you think it is. We're going to beat you by a fair amount, but it's not going to be like bad, like what those nasty 49ers would do to you.
What was your mindset last year before we played you guys, since we lost the Bucks, right? No one thought the Bucks were going to be a good team. What was your mindset last year?
I'm a realistic fan. I'm not we're going to win every single game. I knew we had a stretch of games last year. I think don't quote me because I don't think it's in order, but you guys were in there, the Browns were in there, and I believe there was another team. And I said, we're going to lose 2 or 3 of the next 4 games. And the Vikings were one of them. Now, granted, last year we did have a little bit of an injury spell hit us right before we hit you. But I knew that was a game that we needed to limp into. And it turns out that, we laid an egg. You guys got the best of us. We haven't beat you since 92? Is that what you said, Shaq?
In Minnesota. In
Minnesota. Makes you sick of coming to Minnesota, don't it?
Funny in San Francisco. So, I've been to like 3 of them.
So, seeing you guys on the schedule week 2, I'm like, okay, this is another, letdown game right off the rip. And then before the kickoff on the Jets game, to see CMC not playing, Hufunga's not back from his ACL last year. It was like, okay, we really have a chance to start 0-2, and we're supposed to be, a top 2 or 3 team in the NFC. But to see them not miss a beat without Hufunga, without CMC, Leonard Floyd playing a big game coming over from the Bills, the way that they dominated that game against, a top 5 defense for the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers healthy once he made it back to the 4th play, which they made a big deal. I feel a lot more confident going into the game this year than I did last year.
Well, that's good to hear, because I was gonna ask that question, but first I gotta address that you guys were a little injured last year. So were we. We were without Justin Jefferson, we were without Christian Darrisaw, just like you guys without Debo and without Trey. So I mean, it's kind of the same thing. We're both missing some guys, so let's ease it on that. But I was going to ask you, what was your feeling when you saw the Vikings in Minnesota on your schedule week 2, and you kind of addressed it that you didn't see that as an easy game?
Not necessarily, but after week 1, I feel like it's a little bit easier than I originally anticipated. You guys, you played the Giants, we played the Jets, and I'm more confident now than I was when I first saw the game. I said, Rinaldi, let's go to Minnesota.
My last question for you is the CMC injury, right? Do you want him to play knowing that he fumbled the ball last year and that was the momentum shift for us, or what?
Wow.
Middle of the season game when we still made it to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I think I'm okay. I don't want him to play this week with an Achilles, with a calf on turf. Week 2, we just saw what Jordan Mason can do. We saw what the offensive line can do. Trent Williams didn't play any of training camp and is still the best offensive lineman in the league. It's not even a question. If he can sit out another week, 2 weeks, rest it up, and avoid that Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins injury that that's looming anytime you got that calf injury, I'm okay with that.
Joe, I'd ask you
it's got nothing to do with a fumble in week 7, 8.
Yeah, it was I think it's week 6 or 7. Yeah.
I'd ask you what the final score is, but I see it down on the bottom of your thing. So 30-13, huh?
30-13.
Joe, are you in like some 49er fan groups at all? Like
No,
on
I'm
Facebook
not.
or Discord or anything?
No.
I just wondering like what the vibe is from other fans. You seem pretty even keel about it. I'm wondering like what the feeling is among 49er fans overall.
I don't. There's not a lot of them up in here in upstate New York. You know, I'm kind of on my own perch up here, but you know, I'm not a member of any groups or anything like that. But it's the same thing I say about all the sports teams that I'm. You know, the fan for me isn't fanatic. I'm a fan of the sport, and I'm also a realist. I'm not going to say my team's the best. I'm a Red Sox fan, for Christ's sake. You know,
no, that's cool.
So Joe, I got a question for you. Did you watch Receiver?
I haven't watched that one yet. I did watch Quarterback. Receiver is on my list to watch.
Well, it's Debo and Kittle in there. You better watch it, dude.
I know.
So I guess I don't get to ask the question of how you felt about like all that.
Not yet. I'll come back on.
He'll come back on when we're playing in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
there we go.
The NFC
I do have a
Championship
question.
game.
I do have a question for you, Joe. So, 49ers have been a great running team for the past couple years, even before y'all got Christian McCaffrey. Can you speak on like Kyle Shanahan and like that run scheme? Do you think it's more so Christian McCaffrey, or do you think it's more so the way y'all actually run the ball?
I think it's a little bit of both, Shaq. You know, obviously we ran the ball like that. Like you said, we ran the ball like that before CMC got here. I think he brings a different dynamic to it because he's not just a running back. He catches the ball out of the backfield. You know, everybody on that offense blocks, catches, run. I mean, if anybody watched the game on Monday, Kyle Juszczyk had 2 catches and was free for a third one running down the sideline for a touchdown. I believe that Kyle Shanahan, couple blunders that he's made in the last few years, nobody's going to doubt that, but is still one of the best offensive play callers in the league, and possibly, you know, top 5 ever in play calling in the league. His schemes alone, his motion before snap. There's so many different things that you can do off of every look that you have. You know, to me, it doesn't matter who's in the backfield, but the fact that it is CMC or whatever, you know, it just adds different dynamics and in different ways you can go off of it.
Shaq, I know where you're going with that one. Shaq, hold on, Shaq. I know you're going with that because me and Shaq were debating about this, and he's saying I was pumping up Mason, like, man, he looks really good, and like, man, I might rather see CMC. And Shaq like, no, it's just a scheme. Anybody could do it, and kind of discrediting what Mason was doing. And I just came back and said, you know what, Shanahan is a great offensive mind, and yes, he probably does run up a good scheme, but you can't take away from what Mason is doing. And the 49ers haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since Frank Gore. Now, I know that they've done a lot of committees, but 1,000 yards is 60 yards a game, and they haven't had anybody that's done that until CMC. Mm-hmm. So I know where Shaq was going with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to know.
So one more question for you, Joe. Do you feel like David looks more distinguished with his puffy earlobe, or do you feel like he should step on another hornet's nest and get one on the other side to balance it out?
It would be easier for me to answer that if I could see past his cheek.
Come with the heat.
Every week. You are free to come on every week, sir. I love this guy.
Great stuff, Joe. Thank you for doing it, man. That was great.
Yeah,
Thank
you very much.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me.
Do you have any questions for us before you get out of here?
I had one more, but it just slipped my mind.
Yes, I am really that handsome. It's not the camera. Yes, it does add on 15 pounds, but I'm still fat.
Slips your mind like a ball.
I think we can sustain some pressure on you guys. Yes, I do.
I think the one thing is every Vikings fan like Fish with the battered personalities, with it always being close calls, whether it be a foot on the end line in the playoffs with Brett Favre. Was it in the playoffs with Brett Favre, or a missed field goal? Or is it? No,
Brett Favre's where we threw it against you guys at the back of the end zone, and we stayed in by that much to win the game.
Okay.
Well, wait till your team don't go to the damn Super Bowl for 40 plus years, and you tell me about being bad.
I wouldn't say every fan is like Fish, but I'd say most of us are, and I'd say probably 70% of the fans are like that. I think there's still 30% of the fans who are just see purple and it's all good, and we're gonna do it one day.
I will say that is. I'm not big on going to football games. Honestly, I'd rather sit in my living room, but that is an environment that I think that I would love to go to, watching the opening game ceremonies and the whole thing just looks like it would be a lot of fun. So kudos to you guys for sticking it through the hard times, even the one score wins and all those close games.
Like a battered wife.
Yeah.
He loves me. He's not going to do it to me.
Thank you very much for coming on. Like, this is the
Skol,
first time
buddy.
we've done this, and man, you set a great example. Like, when we have future guests on to do this, I might have to show them this clip to show this is what we're looking for and this is what we're expecting. You were awesome, dude.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, let's
Very
go.
knowledgeable too.
What's that?
Let's go.
Go Niners, 30-13.
All right, Joe, got to cut you off now. All right, man. Hey, that was really cool, man. If we could get a guest like that every week, I think it would be awesome. I think some people in the audience had a little bit of a problem with it, but I think they need to see where we're going with that. We're trying to see what the other team fan base is thinking, so you're not just hearing us and our speculation and all that. We want to know what that fan base is thinking. Like, are they worried about this game? Are they not? What are they worried about? Like, maybe make us see things a little bit differently, and that's what we're going for here.
At 30-13, he's not worried at all.
No.
His words, his words said a little more than what his tagline said.
He was playing the game. He's playing the game. I'm on this Viking show. If I bring the heat, we're going to come with the water. I don't want the water.
Yeah, and I want to give credit to us too, because there were some times he threw some zingers and we didn't totally jump on him like we've been known to do at times to people. Like, we're like, all right, or I've been known to do people. I don't know, but that was cool. That was fun. And yes, we are going to do this with cheeseheads. If there's any cheeseheads that are willing to come on here, I want to do it with every team that we play. At least 15, 20 minutes.
I
More
might know
violent,
somebody.
he said.
I have
All
a
right.
coworker who's a Packer fan.
All right, well, we'll have to see. They better be as good as Joe.
There's no holds bar on that Packer fan, though.